You selfish little girl. My father's voice thundered across the wraparound porch of our lakeside cabin in Vermont as my graduation party descended into chaos. Your brother needs that inheritance more than you. He has a future, real plans. I'm Nora Whitaker, and at 24 I stood frozen, my master's degree in biomedical science still in my hand as my father ripped it in half and tossed the pieces into the fire pit. My mother stood beside him, arms crossed, while my younger brother Eli lounged in a deck chair, looking pleased with himself. I earned that, I said, keeping my voice from shaking. Huh? Your grandfather left that money to me, I added, because he believed in what I'm building. Mom scoffed. Eli's startup needs capital. You'll be just fine. You're already working at a lab. The guests, family, old neighbors, former teachers, had fallen silent. A few looked down awkwardly. One cousin filmed discreetly behind her lemonade glass. Only Aunt Cora, Grandpa's sister, held my gaze. Her face was unreadable, but I caught the briefest nod. She remembered too. Grandpa's words, the same ones I replayed often. The world won't always reward you for playing fair, Nora, but play smart and know when to move. While I'd been juggling research, publishing 2 papers, and working nights in a clinic, Eli had cycled through 3 failed tech ventures and 1 band that never played outside our garage. Now, Dad shoved a folder into my hands. Sign it. Transfer the inheritance to your brother, or pack your things and go. You're not welcome here anymore. I looked at the folder, then at him. No, I said. He lunged forward and slapped me. Hard. A glass shattered. The crowd gasped. Eli didn't move. Mom pretended to gasp, hand over mouth like a soap opera extra. And then I smiled. You just made this very easy, I said, stepping back and pulling out my phone. Remember how Grandpa always insisted on video surveillance for the cabin? The new system syncs with my cloud account. That slap? That threat? Already uploaded. My father's face blanched. You can keep the party, I said, walking toward the driveway. I'll keep the money and the lawyers. They all backed away, visibly rattled by how calmly I'd handled it. All right, I said, turning toward the driveway. See you at the lawyer's office next Thursday. What lawyer? Eli's voice cracked, his smugness evaporating. I didn't answer, just kept walking as Dad's voice bellowed behind me, hurling threats like hailstones. At my car, Aunt Cora caught up, slipping beside me with a tight smile. You knew it would come to this. It wasn't a question. I nodded as I unlocked the door. Grandpa warned me. He said the closer we got to the final inheritance date, the more desperate they'd become. She patted my arm, her eyes proud. George always said you had the sharpest instincts. Did you get it all recorded? I motioned to my cousin Tyler, approaching from the trees, phone in hand. Every second, he confirmed. The diploma, the threats, the slap, all of it's backed up. Cora exhaled. They have no clue what's coming, do they? I started the engine. Not a single clue. That night, I stayed at her cottage just beyond the lake. Messages flooded in. Some furious. Some apologetic. Some pretending they didn't see anything. Eli sent a string of snide texts claiming he'd already started planning renovations for my old room. I ignored them all. Instead, I reviewed the legal portfolio Grandpa left with his estate attorney. The inheritance wasn't just a trust fund. It included majority shares in Whitaker Innovations, ownership of the family cabin, and 3 high-value rental properties, all under my name. What my parents had seen years ago was a decoy, a placeholder, never updated in their files. Grandpa had quietly rewritten everything after years of watching them elevate Eli and marginalize me. Sometimes, he once said, the only way to open someone's eyes is to close every door they assumed would always stay open. Later, Cora brought chamomile tea to my room. I'd be proud of you, Nora, she said. You've got his spine, his patience. You waited for your moment. I nodded slowly. The right moment. That's what he taught me. The week leading to the family meeting crawled by. My father's messages turned darker, threats of lawsuits, accusations of betrayal. My mother tried guilt instead. You're tearing this family apart, she wrote. Eli is devastated. Do the right thing. But I already was. And when that conference room door opened the following Thursday, I was ready to do what Grandpa had prepared me for all along: hold the line and claim what was mine. My mother's messages alternated between guilt trips and shallow promises. "We can compromise," she wrote. "Maybe just give Eli 80%? That's fair, isn't it?" Meanwhile, Eli had already started teasing his upcoming venture incubator on Instagram. Smiling selfies, cryptic hashtags, even a sneak peek of the building he planned to purchase using his inheritance, ironically one of the rental properties Grandpa had already left to me. The morning of the meeting, I arrived early at the Montpelier office of Barrett & Klein, LLP. Mr. Klein, my grandfather's estate lawyer of nearly 3 decades, greeted me with a warm nod. "Everything's in order," he said, tapping a thick folder on the mahogany desk. "Your grandfather would have relished this moment. He always said, 'Revenge isn't necessary, just legal clarity.'" I chuckled. "Are the cameras live?" He gestured toward the discreet black domes above. "Lobby in this room. Your father's behavior raised enough red flags." Relatives arrived in slow waves: curious cousins, a few skeptical uncles, then Aunt Cora and Uncle Dean, who gave me small but affirming smiles. Finally, my parents swept in, Eli trailing behind like he'd already won something. His smugness could have powered a city block. "This is overkill," my father announced to the room. "We're capable of resolving this as a family." "Like you did at Nora's graduation," Aunt Cora replied, cutting through the tension like a scalpel. The room fell quiet. A few people shifted in their seats, clearly recalling the now infamous video clips. Mr. Klein opened the folder. "Shall we begin?" My father started to object, but the reading had already begun. The first few minutes were routine, modest bequests to distant relatives, contributions to environmental causes. Then came the moment they were waiting for. Regarding the core estate, including Whitaker Innovations, the family cabin, and all associated properties. Mr. Klein paused deliberately, locking eyes with my parents. Mr. George Whitaker left detailed instructions. My mother sat up straighter. Eli grinned and pulled out his phone. "The entirety of the estate," Mr. Klein said clearly, "is left to Nora Whitaker with specific conditions for oversight, expansion, and asset preservation." Silence. Then chaos. My father shot to his feet. "This is absurd. We saw a copy months ago, just a trust fund." "This was an early draft," Mr. Klein replied, calm and unshaken. "This version was finalized and notarized 3 months before Mr. Whitaker's passing." Eli's phone slipped from his hand and hit the table with a dull clack. "But my startup," he whispered. "If you want to see what happens when the final will is revealed and how I turned the tables once and for all, don't forget to subscribe. The next part changes everything." "Furthermore," Mr. Klein said, his tone firm now, "the current residence occupied by Robert and Elaine Whitaker is included in the estate. The occupants have 30 days to either purchase the property at market value or vacate." My mother's polished facade cracked. "Vacate? That's our home." "Actually," I said, speaking up for the first time, "it's my home. Grandpa left it to me, along with everything else you tried to bully me into giving away." "You planned this," my father growled, stepping toward me with clenched fists. "You manipulated your grandfather." "Mr. Whitaker?" Mr. Klein interjected sharply. "I remind you this room is under surveillance, and given your recent documented aggression toward your daughter, any threatening behavior will carry legal consequences." My father hesitated, eyes darting to the camera dome above him. "Additionally," Mr. Klein continued, flipping a tab in the folder, "Mr. Whitaker recorded a personal message explaining his decisions. Shall we?" Before anyone could respond, the flat screen on the wall lit up. My grandfather's face appeared, tired but unmistakably clear. His voice, steady. "If you're watching this, then Nora has done what I always hoped she would. Stood her ground." He looked straight into the lens. "I've watched you dismiss her, belittle her, elevate Eli despite his irresponsibility. I've built Whitaker Innovations from nothing. I know what it takes: hard work, vision, grit. Nora has all 3. She's earned everything I've left her." Eli muttered under his breath, but Aunt Cora leaned forward and gave him a look that silenced him. She's not my favorite, Grandpa continued. She's just the one who showed up and never asked for shortcuts. By now, Mom was quietly crying. Whether the tears were real or rehearsed, I wasn't sure. Dad had sunk into his chair, staring at the carpet. Eli just looked numb, his future in tech stardom flickering out like a bad connection. "There's more," Mr. Klein said as the video faded to black. I nodded and opened the folder I'd brought. "Let's talk about the future of Whitaker Innovations. I've been working on a few ideas." Inside were strategic plans I'd developed with Grandpa's guidance in his final months. This company doesn't need nostalgia, it needs leadership and change. I looked up, calm but resolved. My degree may be gone, but my vision isn't. Our tech is outdated, our operations are bloated, and employee morale is at rock bottom. "You can't just barge in and change everything," my father exploded. "You've run this company for 20 years, into the ground," I replied, sliding a stack of quarterly reports across the table. "We've lost market share 5 years straight, turnover's at 60%, and 3 of our largest contracts, they're not renewing." Aunt Cora flipped through one of the reports and shook her head. "George tried to warn you, Robert, you just wouldn't listen." I kept going. "The first change, the executive board. Effective immediately, I'm replacing half of the current directors with professionals who actually understand this industry, people with experience, not just family ties or golf memberships." My father's face turned crimson. For years, he'd filled the board with his weekend poker friends and Eli's college roommates. "Second," I said, flipping to another page, "we're enacting the employee profit-sharing plan Grandpa designed before you shelved it. Everyone from janitorial to engineering gets a stake in the success they help build." "You'll bankrupt us," my mother cried out. Mr. Klein calmly passed around a new set of documents. "Actually, projections show this could double company profits within 18 months. I turned to Eli, who had been silent the entire meeting. "You wanted to start a venture studio? Fine. We're launching an internal entrepreneurship program next quarter. If you submit a real business plan and complete a certification, you can pitch alongside other candidates." For the first time ever, he didn't sneer. "You're giving me a chance?" "I'm giving you an opportunity to earn something," I corrected. "That's more than you ever offered me." My father pushed back from the table, voice raw. "You can't do this. I won't let you destroy my legacy." I laughed, quietly but unmistakably. "Dad," I said, "look around. You're sitting in a dying business, in an office you no longer own, threatening the person who now decides your salary. What legacy?" His bravado collapsed. He sank into his chair, stunned. "Now," I said, pulling out one last envelope, "let's talk about your new roles." My mother leaned forward, probably expecting a dignified title or severance package. Instead, I handed each of them a contract. "You can stay, under my leadership, starting in entry-level roles. Learn the company from the ground up, like I did, during summers while Eli backpacked across Europe on your credit card." "Entry-level?" my mother gasped. I nodded. "And yes, your lifestyle will need adjustment." Adjustment. I closed the folder. "The company estate will be sold to fund our modernization project. As for you two, you have 3 options. Accept the rules I've offered. Buy the house at market value, or start packing." The silence was thunderous. Around the table, relatives sat stunned, some outraged, some quietly impressed. Aunt Cora didn't bother hiding her smile. "I'll do it," a voice said suddenly. Everyone turned. Eli stood, his expression more serious than I'd ever seen. "The internal entrepreneurship program," he clarified. "I want in. I've already started drafting my business plan." I nodded slowly, noting something new in his eyes. Not entitlement, resolve. Maybe it was the first time he'd wanted to earn something. "You've got until the end of the week," I said. "After that, the open positions go public." As people began to file out of the conference room, some whispering, some quiet, Aunt Cora lingered behind. "Your grandfather would be proud of you," she said, pulling me into a hug. You showed mercy, but not weakness. I smiled. He taught me that revenge doesn't always mean destruction. Sometimes, the greatest justice is letting people face their own failures and learn from them. 3 months later, Whitaker Innovations was in the midst of a transformation. My father, after 2 tense weeks, accepted the quality control role. Surprisingly, he excelled. He reconnected with the factory floor, rediscovering a pride in detail and discipline that he hadn't felt in decades. Grandpa had started him there once too. My mother didn't take a position. Instead, she moved into a modest house closer to town, within budget, without staff. Aunt Cora calls it character building. I call it long overdue. But the biggest surprise was Eli. He completed his startup certification faster than anyone expected. He pitched a wellness tech initiative that earned pilot funding, and now he works harder than I've ever seen. Last week, he thanked me for not giving him the easy way out. Employee morale has skyrocketed since launching the profit-sharing plan. Turnover is down, applications are up, our newly upgraded systems have attracted 2 major new contracts, and the company's stock has surged by 30%. In quiet moments, I sit in what used to be my father's office, now mine. On the desk is a photo of Grandpa. "They sharp little fox," he used to say. He taught me that leadership isn't about domination or obedience. It's about vision, patience, and knowing exactly when to strike and when to show grace. Next to his photo, I keep a small lacquered box. Inside are the ashes of my burned diploma, not as a reminder of what I lost, but as a symbol of rebirth. Because sometimes the best revenge isn't about breaking things down. It's about building something stronger in their place. If you've made it this far, thank you for witnessing my journey. It wasn't just about reclaiming an inheritance or reshaping a company. It was about reclaiming myself. Every comment you leave, every word of support, reminds me that quiet strength still matters in this world. So if this story resonated with you, if you've ever been overlooked, underestimated, or told to stay small, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. What would you have done in my shoes? Would you have shown mercy? Would you have walked away? Or would you have fought for the future like I did? Your voice matters here. And if you believe that patience, integrity, and purpose still belong in leadership, please subscribe to this channel. There's more ahead, and I want you right there with me. Because this isn't just my story. It's for every person who was told they weren't enough, until they became more than anyone expected. If I've learned anything from all this, it's this. You don't need to scream to be powerful. You don't need to fight dirty to win. Sometimes the quietest moves are the ones that shake everything. So take your time, make your plan, let the world underestimate you, then surprise it with everything you've built when they weren't looking. Because that's what Grandpa taught me. True power isn't about revenge. It's about building something better. So if you're holding back because of fear, shame, or doubt, don't. Take the first step toward your own legacy. And if you ever need a reminder that growth can come from ashes, come back to this channel. I'll be here with more stories, more lessons, and maybe a few more surprises. Until then, stay sharp.